It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
All right, we are live. Post-game show. Lions, Packers, ass whooping. I don't need to get into too much other than that. An absolute ass whooping. A disappointing performance by the Lions. Debut of the two new coordinators. More so offense. Defense without choked flashes. Yeah, you can play the music. For the Packers fans, Bears fans, Vikings fans that are in the chat, that'll probably be tuning in at some point talking trash, rightfully so. It's a terrible performance from the two-time NFC North champions. One of the best teams in the NFL. But they did not look like that today. They looked like a lottery team. Not a lottery team, that's the wrong word. Number one overall pick team.
Yeah. I mean, NBA lottery
yeah,
team, if you want to go that
NBA
route.
lottery.
Yeah, I'm talking about the NFL, not the NBA. I'm rattled.
I think
number one overall pick contender. I will say this.
Oh, who, the Lions?
I'm joking.
I was about to say,
They probably, if I'm being fully transparent with you, in terms of offense, the Texans scored 9. The Panthers scored, 3? What the Panthers end up scoring in that game?
I'll tell you.
They might have. They're like a top 3 team in terms of like who looked the worst this weekend.
The Lions?
Or not weekend, sorry, today.
I would say given the talent and like expectations, not even close. Like even Tampa for a little bit looked pretty bad, but then they came around in that second half, started scoring some points. Yeah.
They got to be a contender
Right.
for like.
I'm not doing this. Not comparing them to the Panthers. Or
No,
anything.
I'm just saying that performance.
I mean, what
was
are we
bad.
doing here?
And
Can we open it up like the Panthers?
No, I'm not saying they're the Panthers. I'm
call
saying
it what it is. They have one of the best football teams in the NFL, and they
I
look
think you
like
misunderstood what I was saying.
one of the worst teams in the NFL. Like, it's embarrassing. That's all it is.
You just repeated literally what I said. I agree. Yeah, you just said you disagreed and then just said what I said. They're one of the best teams who looked. My point was they looked like one of the worst teams today. That's all.
You see that? What did they do?
Stafford and the Rams.
They won.
Yeah. Tough.
What are you trying to say?
I don't even.
right
Boone,
now?
Boone, I don't know. Boone's in a blender. I listen.
We're all
in a
shook.
tough
Yeah,
spot.
and it's guys, it's disappointing. Like in terms of the talent level, it's extremely disappointing. They looked really bad today. Is it the end of the world? No, but it's a bad start to the year. Terrible.
Yeah.
I think it's more so, and I know like we don't have to overreact after week 1. We can if you want. You can overreact, and I think at the end of the day, like, hey, if you overreact, things most likely are going to get better. At the end of the day, we know it can only. You're obviously after today, it can only go up from here, right? The biggest thing is like that was embarrassing. It was a bad look, and you didn't even come close to even playing good football.
No.
And it was the preparation you had, and this is the most disappointing part of it at all, is you had all off season to prepare offensively, what you wanted to look like, what your identity wanted to look like. Defensively, you had the same thing. You had guys that are supposed to be stepping up this year. The play calling was atrocious, and people will be like, well, it's the offensive line. No, like I said it about with a couple minutes left of the game. Like your play calling today, Jahmyr Gibbs, your star running back, had 10 catches. 10 catches.
How many yards on that, Boone?
31 yards and 10 catches. All you did this game was dump down. And yeah, maybe that was because your offensive line was great. It is a mixture on offense of a bunch of different things. It's one, offensive line did not look good, so you had 46 rushing yards. You're supposed to be one of the best rushing teams in the NFL.
I didn't even realize they had 46
You're supposed to be one of the
yards.
best rushing teams in the NFL, and you have 46 rushing yards.
That's bad.
You're supposed to be one of the best offenses in general. You have Amon-Ra with 4 catches. Before the last catch there, that really meant nothing. He had 3 catches. J-Mo had 4 catches. He had 1 at the end there. That didn't mean much. Sam Laporta had 2 in the last drive, so he had 4 going into the last drive. Your running backs had more catches than all of your receivers and tight ends. Like it was like from the top to bottom, the offense looked so bad, like drastically bad. You scored a touchdown in the end that you got lucky that Isaac Tesla made one of the best plays.
By the way.
But like the fact that you didn't get a touchdown to the end there, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You have some of the best weapons in the NFL, whether you have a great offensive line or not. You did not use them to your advantage at all. And then you put Jared Goff in just bad positions to be successful. You did not put him in a position where he was supposed to be. He was 31 for 39. If you're 31 for 39 as a quarterback, you should win a game by 3 touchdowns. And it didn't even come close to that. They lost by 2 touchdowns.
This was an offense that last year was top 10 production-wise all time. And until 55 seconds left in that fourth quarter, they did not put up a single touchdown.
Yeah.
There was not one drive, maybe the one that ended up in an interception where you're like, Lions are moving the ball how they want to this drive. And I don't care what anyone has to say. That's still a very talented offense, regardless of the offensive line play. That simply came down to coaching.
Yeah.
The Lions, when you looked at Jared Goff, when they're showing the sideline angle, he looked calm. When the ball was snapped, and it doesn't directly have to be his fault, Jared Goff looked uncomfortable. The offensive line looked slow. Amon-Ra and J-Mo, when they had the ball in their hands, they looked like that.
Yeah.
But when you just looked at this team as a whole, it was not prepared. It wasn't. And I think what hurts about it the most, if you looked over in New York today, Aaron Glenn, Tanner Engstrom, they were lighting up the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Now, say what you want about the Steelers as a Super Bowl contender, whatever. That defense is very, very good. Very, very good. And now you follow that, and Dan Campbell, he looks like he needs Aaron Glenn week 1 more than Aaron Glenn needs him. And now you're going into where next week? You're at home, but Chicago. And the fact that that's going to be the narrative, and you just went from top 10 offense to scoring a first touchdown with 55 seconds left, that is concerning. That is absolutely concerning. I don't think you have to say this offense is cooked, it's not going to be good. That it has to. I don't see a way that you have this much talent on offense and don't find a way to pick it up. But to have that performance, the red flag, whenever you wanted to plant it, it better be planted now. I don't think you can give anybody like an excuse, quote unquote. Because you can be like, chemistry's not there. But looking that bad is pathetic.
Yeah, well, Lion Rumble 81, appreciate the $5. He says, this is on the players. They looked lost. Both sides of the line sucked. Sewell was on skates. You're excusing the coach.
You can't say this is on the players. Offensively, they did not look prepared. They didn't look prepared.
But here's the thing. I'll push back on. We have to stop saying then it's all players that make plays. Coaching matters. I've been saying that too. It matters in this game, man. I get we have talent, but it's not about that. And honestly, I think week 1 speaks more volumes, guys, because week 1 you have when the schedule's released, from then on you have that time to game plan for one game.
Yep.
Week 2 and beyond, you're game planning week to week. Week 1 you have
adjusting.
You have the time to game plan.
I think a big thing too, like with this, Jeff,
which was embarrassing.
And a lot of people are saying, I mean, I've seen it a million times already with Johnny Morton. Like people are fire him, do this. Like it's week 1. Again, we did agree we can react to the game, but we're not going to overreact to John Morton in the moment until let's see if he could develop. This week to next week is a big jump
for sure.
This week, he needs to make sure next week he shows not just Lions fans, but shows the NFL that he's able to make adjustments and figure this out. That you watch game film and now you finally got to put something on film outside of training camp and preseason, and now you can say, okay, this is where I went wrong. This shouldn't be a thing, but. He needs to go into next week and figure out one. I think the number one thing is, yes, offensive line needs to be better, but the number one thing that Johnny Morton needs to figure out with his offense, this guy needs to figure out these running backs. I think that's the biggest thing. He needs to figure out what he's doing and who he's getting the ball to
succeed.
Because he's giving D-Mont the ball in the spots that where he's typically last season you're not getting the ball in. Like a 3rd and 2, he's taking D-Mont off the field instead of running the ball, and he's giving it to Jahmyr Gibbs in the red zone, and he's letting Jahmyr Gibbs run it outside, and everyone on the field knows where the ball is going at that point. Where with the D-Mont, you know what's going up the middle, but D-Mont's going to get you those 2 yards, and he's not giving the right players the right positions, like put them in the positions to be successful. And that's not going to work. Yeah. Like he's giving Jahmyr Gibbs a million checkdown passes, and he's not putting them in the open field, and he's not finding different ways to get them open. And that's a problem, I think. Like I've said I didn't want to go into this game really fully judging John Morton in this offense, but today was way more concerning than it would have been if you go out there and you score 20 points, you lose by a touchdown. There were a couple bad calls here or there. No, this was from quarter 1, from the first possession when you go 3 and out to the very end, even the last thing, even though Isaac TeSlaa scored.
Running the ball on 3rd and 2.
Everything just looked bad from the jump. He didn't. I don't know if there was one good play call today. Like Jared made plays when it was open, but there was just a million checkdowns. And you know what checkdowns are, right? 1, it's either the offensive line's getting blown up, or 2, you aren't scheming anyone open.
Yeah, there's no answer.
There's nothing open, and there's no way in this offense that we've seen for 3 years be the top 5 offense in the NFL.
That there's not guys open.
You can't scheme guys open, and he's not scheming guys open, and that's why you have Jahmyr Gibbs with 10 plus catches, and you have David Montgomery with 7 catches. That's what that is. That's all it is. So obviously they don't have a good offensive game plan right now, and this is what we saw at training camp. when in training camp, it was like there was the one practice we went to, and it was the defense dominated the whole time, and that the offense looked terrible. That's what that looked like. If people were wondering, like that's exactly what that looked like during that day where they were like, this Lions offense was terrible. And game one, it looks like that.
And what compounds it, makes it even worse, is especially when you just want to talk about Lions Packers. This is the weakest Packers defense that you're probably going to see the rest of the season. Granted, if they have a major injury, because you look at, they just shipped off Kenny Clark.
Yep.
So the chemistry on that defensive line that the Lions are figuring out on the offensive line is there as well. Nate Hobbs, who is their cornerback one, which that secondary is not good in that cornerback room. And so you're down that corner. He's going to be healthy next time you play, most likely. And they're going to have Micah Parsons not on the field situationally. He's going to be on the field every play. So this was the weakest the Packers defense is going to be. And this was an opportunity where the Lions could have taken advantage of that. But they just simply just did not. They got off the bus and then they stopped playing. That's what happened.
This is true. This is as well. And this is what I hate. And I think you guys are on the same spot as me. This is what Lions fans can't do. You can't. Like Purple Prince, guys, calm down. We're good. Teddy Fresh, I disagree, Booner. They had the plays. Golf had no time. This is what we can't do. You can't let people just and it's going to happen. There's going to be, and we love all the beat writers, but there's going to be beat writers. There's going to be people in content. There's going to be people who do all these different things and fans who are like, this is act like this was nothing. This is fine. No, it's not.
Yeah,
this was one of the most. It's not like we just went out there, lost by a touchdown, and everything was all dandy. And it was like, hey, there was a lot of good spurts. Jared. Things could be true. Jared Goff didn't have time. Yes. They also didn't scheme anyone open. And play calling was bad. Your running backs combined for almost 20 catches. That's insane. That's insane.
After you just paid Jameson Williams.
Yes, you have one of the best offenses in the NFL when it comes to weapons. You don't. There's not an NFL team in this league right now that has a better room of weapons than you do. Not one. And that's what happened. Like it's one of the more embarrassing things. And we're not going to overreact and say, I'm not going to go to the we don't want Johnny Morton. No, I'm giving John Morton chances. He's going to have a couple weeks. You go figure this out. And I think he will, because you got so much bad tape that you're going to be able to go, oh, we shouldn't do all of this. Like, you have the tape. But you can't sit here and just be like, everything's all fine and dandy. That sucked.
Yeah, that was awful.
That was one of the worst football games offensively that I've seen ever. And you have one of the best offensive rooms in the NFL. That's not just we had a bad game. Everything's going to be. That's like being like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to pull up to a race in a Lamborghini versus Toyotas, and I'm going to go out there and lose by a mile and be like, no, it's cool. No, you have a Lamborghini. At least be close to the Toyota Corollas.
Joe Wilson donated $2. He says it was the offensive line getting blown up. Yes, it was.
There was
more to that. Yeah, there was more to that. I'll throw this out there too, because I think this year might have been the actual only year to probably do this. And I hate to do this because it sounds like it's just revisionist history or trying to. Because I get the point of not doing it. If you have a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator, even though you have joint practices, I don't think it's a bad idea to probably run the starters a little bit in the preseason.
I agree. We actually talked
just
about
a
that.
little bit.
We actually
Maybe
had that conversation.
It's like the Bengals. The Bengals,
yes.
they start off so slow every year.
Did we not have that conversation to get in a rhythm?
Yeah,
we actually talked about that.
They ran some guys. Not again. Is that going to solve everything? I don't know, but I don't think it would have been a terrible idea with John Morton, new OC. Just to get these guys out there on the same page.
Just can't wrap my head around that. And listen, offensive line, bad or not, there's no, fellas, and you know this too, there's just no world where you should only rush for 46 yards with this team.
Yeah, it's awful.
There's no world that versus Packers team when they just got rid of what's his name in the middle, Kenny Clark, that you can't rush for 80 yards combined with the
what
two running
makes
backs
it even worse is Devontae Wyatt, the defensive tackle they're relying on to replace Kenny Clark, gets a sack at the end too.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not missing Kenny Clark at this point either.
Yeah, Purple Prince, appreciate the $5. He says Ragnow retiring in the middle of our window screwed this team. I don't blame him, but it's the truth.
It is okay. Those things are concerning and they suck. Like, I think you're able to make those points with it. But today's performance, like, again, if today's performance, guys, was half of what it was, it would be okay. This was fine. Like, it struggles.
Yeah, if they put up like 20.
But this, like, you scored a touchdown in the last second that you probably like.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like you scored a touchdown today. You had 2 field goals, and you were supposed to be one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, if the reason is because of only Frank Ragnow, then you have bigger fish to fry, dude. If he's the only reason, there's so much more than that. Like, Frank is so important, don't get me wrong, but you can't, it's not like Frank is the only reason why this offense looked that bad today. There's no excuse for that. And the offensive line has to be better, and they're healthy, so it's not like, I mean, this is what they got. They just got to play better. Doesn't help, of course. But there's so many things you can point to in this game. I think John Morton, obviously, you're willing to say, hey, give this thing probably a handful of weeks. But here's the thing. In the NFL, you don't have a handful of weeks. What's the percentage of teams that start off 0-2 that make the playoffs? It's significantly low.
And then think about, you got Baltimore week 3 as well.
And that's what you have to keep in mind. Your first 3 weeks, it's the Packers, Bears, and Baltimore, the Ravens. And the Ravens, we know how good they are. Packers, we knew this would be tough. Bears, you thought, hey, they could probably take the Bears. After today's performance, you're already worried about the Bears, and we haven't even gotten to the Ravens. God forbid this team starts 0-2, or dare I say 0-3, you're done. You're cooked.
Yeah.
It's just hard. I mean, the Bengals go through this. The Bengals went through this last year. I think they started like 0-2.
Yeah, you can
and they missed the playoffs.
And keep in mind who they had a quarterback and how many times, like what he did. So
you can't go 0-2.
Yeah, and
you
can't do it against divisional teams as well.
That's another good point.
And when you look at offensively concerning, defensively, that's the one thing we can lean on. And I saw like in that second half, I think Kelvin Shepherd adjusted well. So I know we're piling on Johnny Morton. I think deservedly so. Don't get me wrong, because I was skeptical coming in. Still am. I'm not just going to instantly rule him out after 1 week. My expectations definitely are concerned for him. But at least Shepherd in that second half was able to dial it in a little bit. The offense kind of set them up for failure, especially in that fourth quarter.
They had 17 points like in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and
then
it was basically 2 quarters of nothing for them. They were getting them to punt. They had that pick six got negated, and that kind of took the wind out of their sails defensively, I think. Terrion went down. Hopefully he's good. But
yeah, I'm not as concerned with the defense, because the thing,
you knew there'd be a little points where it's a little shaky, but they were
But
overall
the positivity
fine.
with the defense is like they made plays in moments, right? Like, and I know like there was the moment with the Brian Branch interception. Anzo almost stepped up. There were definitely moments where they slipped up. It was the first game of the season. But you would expect, like, yes, they gave up 24 points. You would have expected 27. Sorry, I'm so far.
It gets even higher.
Yeah.
It gets higher.
With this Lions offense, you're like, typically you're hitting 30, right? Like, you're typically getting 30.
No, that's how it usually is.
This defense, at least in my mind, they showed stuff. The only positive thing I'm taking out offensively is you still have those weapons on offense.
Yeah, you do.
Now, the thing about the defense, which actually, I'll save this. I'll get to this in a second. We'll bring it up. Teddy Fresh, thank you for the $10, my man. He says, Booner, nobody's saying this. We're good. The O-line was getting destroyed. The defense got no consistent pressure. When they did get stops, the offensive line had no answer.
So he agrees with everything I said.
I think he was just – well, I'll say this about the defense. If you want to point out something on the defense – then you say the pressure, the defensive line did not get
the D-line was probably the worst part of it.
The run defense wasn't that bad.
That's what it's.
They were fine.
Jordan Love had all the time in the world.
This defense looked like it did 2 years ago, when it's like Aaron Glenn was trying to piece it together. Not even last year. Injuries aside, 2 years ago, when you're like Aaron Glenn is just trying to piece this defense together. But the asinine part, he adjusted it. Like, you have Aiden Hutchinson, without a doubt, a top 5 edge rusher in the NFL, and on 2 third downs, he's dropping into fucking pass coverage. And on another one, you're dropping Marcus Davenport into pass coverage. So it was, again, they stepped up in that second half, but I think everybody on that defensive line against the run looked solid. There was times when Marcus Davenport set an edge, but no one even got close to sniffing Jordan Love at all.
Once.
Like, he sat back there, somebody dropped in the stream. You could set up a picnic, just launch it downfield if you wanted to. And they're over the middle of the field, they got whatever they wanted through the air.
They did not get close to him once, it felt like.
Yeah, and the pressure wasn't, and that wasn't, again, we could easily be like, well, Davenport, Hutch didn't have his best performance either. Like, it was the whole D-line, honestly. Just from a pass rushing perspective, they weren't great.
Just looks slow.
Love looked very comfortable. He let plays develop. When you have that many, they had to play to Jaden Reed, they had to play to Romeo Dobbs, a couple of those. Like, when those plays are developing, you're not getting pressure.
Kraft.
Yeah, like Tucker Kraft, he missed him on the deep shot over Jack Campbell. Like, they could have had another touchdown, free open play. When that's happening consistently, you're not getting to him. He's comfortable, And Bulls turn says Hutch was double teamed all game, but that's going to happen.
It was last year too.
Yeah, I mean that's going to happen.
Granted, he didn't play Green Bay, so you didn't see how he would look last year against Green Bay. But we've seen first game off of major injuries, so I'm not like bashing Hutch when I say this, but it's going back to Kelvin Shepherd, knowing when the Packers are game planning for the Lions defense, who are they sending everybody in the house at? Aiden Hutchinson.
Right.
So how do you get that pass rush outside of that? And again, that was something that people outside this season were saying, well, Kelvin Shepard was sitting under Aaron Glenn. He's going to see how to rush that quarterback. And that wasn't the case. And Hutch has to find a way to get to the quarterback. End of story. It doesn't matter what he's going through if this defense wants to do something. If Hutch is taken out of the game, we see what happens, especially when they play mobile quarterbacks. So I know it sounds like, hey, you're putting a lot of pressure on Hutch. Well, yeah, he was the 2nd overall pick in the draft, and we've seen what he can do. So that pressure has to be on him. And he owns that. That's why he is the hard worker that he is, because he knows no Hutch, no defense as far as a Super Bowl contending defense. They look like an all right defense. But to win games in this division, going up against the schedule they have, that defense and that pass rush specifically has to be there. If you go in week 3 against Baltimore, week 5 against Tampa Bay, then you got the Chiefs. They have to go up against elite quarterback play, especially compared to last year. They're in for a long season if that continues. So they need to find a way to generate pressure. I don't want to see another defensive end drop into coverage, unless it's maybe in the red zone, in the 5-yard line.
They did that multiple times. Davenport dropped, Hutch dropped, and when Hutch is getting double teamed, need someone to step up. And they just don't have. That's why we've been harping on Za'Darius, not because Za'Darius is like Myles Garrett, but he's just another body. Keep the room fresh. He just keeps them fresh.
I think the thing that's so frustrating about the Za'Darius, or just not even him in general, but just adding to this D line.
Yeah, just having some more depth at edge.
The one thing, and I've subscribed to this over the last year. I've changed my mindset when it comes to kind of running a football team and what do you need to win. The one underlying factor of every single team that's won a Super Bowl and continue to, with the Patriots and the Bucks when they did, and the Rams, what do you have to do? You have to win in the trenches.
Yeah.
You're not going to win a Super Bowl if you can't win in the trenches. Today, outside of Aiden Hutchinson, we know what Hutch is, and Penei Sewell, take those 2 guys away. How confident are you guys in the rest of the D-line and the rest of the O-line?
I'm not.
Those aren't Super Bowl trenches.
No.
And you have to if you want to win a Super Bowl, you can have all the weapons, you can have all the best secondary in the NFL, you can have all this, you have the best coaches, this, that. If you don't win in the trenches, you're not going to win football games in January and February. That's why the Chiefs lost. That's why the Bengals lost when they got there. That's why the 49ers for a while, they had Nick Bosa and Trent Williams, but they always got beat in the trenches. They always got beat in the trenches when it came, push came to shove, and they could never finish because of that. And today was very clear. And the problem I have so much with this is that Brad always talks about how big of a difference maker this a good D line makes, but we don't add to it. Right, you add interior. Okay, Tyleek this, but then you cut every single other edge rusher that's played well. Right, Uku gone. Every edge rusher that isn't on that level, all the smaller tier edge rushers that are on this team, they're all gone. And you have 3 edge rushers, and you have your interior. But you're Josh Pascal. Where is he? Hurt. Levi out for the season. But it's these trenches is how you win these games. That's why the Packers won today. They dominated in the trenches. They did. Offensively and defensively. They kept getting to Jared Goff. He couldn't do much. And then on the offensive end, they got Josh Jacobs wherever he wanted, and Jordan Love was just sitting there wide open. He had all the time in the world to throw. The secondary didn't have enough time to cover, and it was over. That's the storyline of this. And I think people do need to realize a little bit that, hey, if this Lions team is serious about winning a Super Bowl, the trenches have to be at a top tier. And they're not there. They're far from it at the moment right now. They definitely are.
Yeah, they have work to do. I mean, they got dominated in the trenches. That's where the Lions pride themselves, and they got outmanned.
Yep. They
got outmanned today by a team that traded away, especially on the interior of the D-line for the Packers. That's disappointing. Steven, appreciate the $5. Says it's clear that Brad's weakness is D-line. So many draft busts and free agent blunders. That and playing press man every play it's 1995 is our downfall. That's not really a Brad thing. That's just a defensive identity thing with the Lions. Yeah. They've been doing that. I would say the D-line for Brad, it has, again, he got Hutch, and the Hutch fell to the Lions. They got him. He's a great player. He's an elite player, and they don't have Aleem. They miss him, obviously.
Yeah.
But, it's just kind of what it is, man. You're not asking for Trey Hendrickson or Micah Park. We're not asking.
I don't
for
even think
another
it's about
elite
even
edge.
just Za'Darius. I think it's more so
just asking for some depth.
Having
people that you know are going to at least compete in the trenches.
The only one they had coming off the bench is AQM. If Hutch or Davenport need a breather,
him on the field really.
If Hutch or Dav need a breather, they put him at edge. Yeah. And honestly, I'll say one more thing. I'm surprised
Pat
that
O'Connor was out coming off the edge,
and that's bad. I'm sorry.
I want to see something. I would love to see when PFF stuff gets released. I would like to see how many pressures the Lions defensive line had.
You know what I'm a little surprised by too? Like I'm surprised Derek Barnes didn't have more plays in the rushing the passer.
Let me ask you this.
I was kind of hyped for Derek Barnes rushing the passer a little bit.
So was I. How many – I'm going to hide this so you don't see. How many quarterback hits do you think the Detroit Lions had today compared to the Green Bay Packers?
I think the Lions got 1.
How many do you think?
I'll go 0.
How many do you think the Packers got?
I'll go. Oh no, actually, I'll say I know Hutch got 1, so I'll go 1 with.
I think the Packers probably got like
4.
No, I think more than that.
5.
Probably like 7, 8. I'm not looking.
The Detroit Lions had 2 pass deflections.
Or you mean quarterback hits?
Quarterback hits. The Green Bay Packers had 9.
Holy shit!
9-2.
And I don't like.
That's more.
I'm sorry. I don't think the Packers' offensive line is miles above the Detroit Lions either. I don't.
They're fine. Yeah, they're
like
good.
they're not bad by any means. They're probably a top 10 offensive line in that range. Like they are not bad.
Tackles for a loss?
The Lions.
What do you think tackles for a loss was?
Oh, Green Bay had a bunch of them. I'd say like 7 for Green Bay.
How many for the Lions?
2.
9-2 as well.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. It felt like the
0
Packers
sacks.
were living in the backfield.
0 sacks to 4 sacks. Rashawn Gary, a sack and a half today. Lucas Van Ness, half a sack. Devontae Wyatt, a sack. And Micah Parsons, a sack. All 4 of their top pass rushers, all those top 4 defensive linemen on their squad all got to the quarterback once at least. The Lions did not have one guy get to the quarterback. Not one.
Yeah, you could tell.
Aiden Hutchinson,
it felt like it.
This is surprising. 0 tackles, 1 quarterback hit.
They just took him out of the game.
Yeah. AQM,
Like
who's supposed to be your third edge rusher, 0 tackles, 1 quarterback hit. Those are the only 2 guys that got to the quarterback. Marcus Davenport, 3 tackles, never got to the quarterback.
When they blitzed the linebackers, none of them had success either.
No,
like
it was like sad to watch. It was just like they were eliminated from the play.
It was just tough. And then TA, man, like TA had moments, but he had rough moments too. He was a little up and down, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah, I guess the only.
And then he got hurt.
DJ Reed gave up a couple of plays. You didn't hear Meek Robertson's name called a lot. Good thing. I'm not saying like he was a difference maker, but I don't think he was out there giving up plays. So that's a bright spot, I guess. Kirby. Didn't really hear his name called that much. I will say this too. I think they were in that first half. Like you cannot line up that close to the line of scrimmage with all 11 of your guys. When they ran that switch combination to Jaden Reed for that touchdown, Kirby Joseph is like 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. They're just going to cover 0 straight across. And if you're not getting pass rush, that's going to be a touchdown 10 times out of 10.
All right. I'm going to start here in the next couple minutes just reading stuff from Dan Campbell. First thing I see here, Dan Campbell, I thought we'd be cleaner than we were. Said he told the team everything that showed up is correctable. Colton Pouncey. I will agree with that. That's why I think today was so bad, especially offensively, like play calling and offensive line. Like at least it's not things where you're like, we just are dead. You know, like we can't fix these. You at least can. And then he also said, Jennifer Hammond, shout out the Hammer on Fox 2, said Campbell pointed out to 2022 when it took his new coordinators, Ben Johnson and AG, time to get going. We started 1-6, but the good thing is this is all correctable. Quote from Dan Campbell, you do it collectively, you do it together. The more they play together, the offensive line, the better. So obviously, the better they'll get. So they obviously are feeling a little bit decent about – he's not feeling decent, but –
I just wish and I saw something in the chats, I just wish he would kind of own it a little bit more after. Like, I would get it, again, if they looked like acceptable. But, like, Again, I know it's a press conference, but I think I don't know how you can't be like, oh, we'll get it together here after watching that.
I think that's just coach. He's supposed to say
know,
that.
but I hope in reality, like he does not.
For sure, he's in there
just
like,
be like,
what
well,
the hell?
give it a couple. Like, no, it's not like this team is rebuilding. Okay, so you're a Super Bowl contender. Again, Jeff, the stats that you were talking about earlier, starting off 0-2, 0-3. Even if you win next week, again, you got to go up against Baltimore. You got Cleveland. You got Tampa Bay. You got Kansas City. You got the Eagles. You have a brutal schedule coming up. So this. Just give it time for it to gel. Yeah, it has to happen. Like that time has to happen, but you can't be looking that far behind of where you thought you'd be at this point in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4.
I do think
then you're just chasing.
I will say this, like there have been, obviously this is the worst game we've seen on the Lions for a while.
Yeah.
I do think like Mike Payton just tweeted out from this Dan Campbell, as bad as that is, it's not what it appears to be. And I'm not saying because this whole time, obviously, this was the worst loss I've ever seen in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, when they were like legit.
This is concerning. I am with Dan a little bit to where, okay, and I think what I said at the beginning with John Morton, let's see what adjustments they make going into next week. Now, if they look like this next week, okay, one game's an outlier.
Yeah.
But if we go to 2 games, and then after the second week, you're like, okay, week 3, you play the Ravens, I believe.
Might be it, man.
You are in a bad spot at that point.
Yeah.
But I think to Dan's point, okay, it's not as bad as it appears to be. It's like that practice that we saw. Remember when they looked terrible? And then what happened the next week, the full next week that they do? The offense like turned it up, and they were like, okay, we got to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
And they did it. So this week this is the biggest moment probably of the season already, where it's like, how do you respond to that offensively? Defensively, I'm not like, hey, they'll figure that out. Offensively, how do they respond? The O-line, do you think Penei Sewell's going to go in tomorrow morning and it'll be like, no, I bet you Penei, imagine him in the film room tomorrow with those guys. He's going to rip those guys a whole new, you know what?
Yeah, it's just like I get what Dan's saying. With new coordinators, it takes a little bit of time. It's just the NFL; you just don't have a lot of time, so it is scary. Like that's why fans I get a little stressed out because it's like you can't afford to give away games.
Because I'm not even thinking of like the seeding. Like, oh, you got to start out 2-3-0 to get the 1 seed. We saw
we're just talking about staying in the playoffs.
Yeah, and because.
I mean, we can't tell week 1. We can't even think about staying in the playoffs. So far off.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying in the NFL,
they started 1-6, and they were.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not thinking about like standing. I'm saying you got to start up hot. I think there's a expectation. Like this culture has been created. There is a standard.
For sure.
Like that you have to live up to.
Yeah.
Now that you're with the
That's
Detroit
why
Lions,
I think though with Dan, like I'm confident Dan he's going to figure this thing out. Because if there was any coach that's done it, like this guy had on that 1-6 and turned it around.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think week 1 after this, he's going to be like, okay. And I'll tell you what, I promise you this. If the offense looks like this again and it's the offensive line and he doesn't feel comfortable with play calling, Jeff, I can guarantee
David Shaw is picking up that headset.
No, guess who's picking the headset up and making plays, calling plays?
Think Dan?
Dan Campbell. And I'll guarantee he's not letting this thing go down. He will not.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you that Dan's going to do everything possible to make this succeed. It's very concerning seeing this team because it just doesn't look like the same team we've seen over the last 2 to 3 seasons, like you were alluding to, Booner.
Yeah, it's
they look confused,
and it's a tough for a debut game. Like I mentioned earlier, like debut game, and actually it's funny because the first year with Ben Johnson, they had the game against the New England Patriots where they lost 29-0, but that was also week 5. Like week 1, they week 1 and 2 they scored like 50-something points combined. So they at least put up points. I think they lost 38-35 week 1. So people were probably a little more like, oh, it's okay that they had a crap game because we saw the offense succeed already.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first image we're seeing of this offense. Like it's hard. You don't have any data to be like they're going to be better. Like we don't have any.
It was such a low floor. Like I thought this game, like, you know what? I could see the Packers losing this game, but I could see him putting up like 20 points.
And the problem is too that I think Dan is leaving out, which again, he's not going to throw. I don't expect him to even say this at all, but we can say this: the talent discrepancy from 2022 with AG and Ben to now is different. Like you're starting running backs for Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Do we want to play this stuff, Boone, or no?
If you guys want, they
didn't have Jameson or Sam Laporta at that time. Like Jameson was like not JMO now. And they didn't have Sam Laporta, so it was different. But yeah,
let me share this. This is Dan after the reacting after the loss. Let me pull it up. It's gonna take me like 2 seconds.
Just tough, man. Know what Dan said? We're gonna clip ready here from Dan Campbell here.
Caleb, can they hear that on the stream?
Sure.
This is tough. You got to play it on yours. Play it on yours so we can at least hear. We got to be able to hear it too.
What are they saying in the chat?
Is it just not playing?
Okay, move on.
We can't do this.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, it's tough. He addressed the media. We have quotes coming out. We'll pop on the show, but.
He's live right now on the podium.
Burning Issue says Crunch Time at Crunch Time Sports in the last 10 NFL seasons, only 11 teams have made the playoffs after starting the season 0-1.
Can I be just completely honest with you, Jeff? I do not ever care about stats like that. Like I don't sit here and be like, this percent of teams make the playoffs if you lose this week. If you lose in week 4, you only have this. That stuff's so dumb to me. Because that means, guess what?
I mean, it's just I
You
get
love
what you're
that stuff.
saying.
You
No,
love that stuff.
just,
I hate it. I think it's the worst because it's like you're like trying to prove like it can't happen. No, it can happen. Why are we like?
Well, it's like betting. If I told you this player's had 50 yards in 5 of his last 6, what would you say?
Yeah, but if I know that he is like he still is a very good player, I would still be like, okay. Like it's not like this is a bad team.
But I just
they started 1-6 a couple years ago, and everyone was like, well, 2% of teams have ever done it. What did they do? They went 9 and they finished 8-1.
My point is, you don't want to be in a position to bank on
obviously
something like
not.
that. Yeah.
No, like that's fair. But I just hate when people say that and they're like, it's over. Like, it's just what are we talking about?
I don't. We just view that's one thing, and that's okay. We just
like,
view it
I heard a
differently.
stat. It was like 11% of teams that won the Super Bowl won or lost in week 1. And so if you lose in week 1, you're probably not going to win a Super Bowl. No, there's who cares? If you have a good team, you're going to go win it.
Yeah, there can always be exceptions.
Like,
I just look at.
I could make up a stat like that or find a stat like that for any scenario. Any scenario.
Just adds context. I get what you mean. It's
you
way
know
too early in the season. I think.
I think those are dumb stats at week 1.
I think it just depends. Like if it says like if I would value it just as much as if it like the teams that start off 5-0 have a higher percentage of winning the Super Bowl.
But yeah, you
like I would
that?
be like I would value it both ways.
Yeah,
it's just my opinion.
If you start 5-0, what does that have to do? It's just like with the Lions.
It's an example.
But
I'm
I'm
not
saying,
being
but
literal.
it's like with the Lions last year. You go 15-2, you have the 1 seed. How's that worked out for you? Who cares if you went 5?
No, I know.
Like,
my
none of
point
that
is like
literally
I'm just
matters.
looking at it's to you. To me, I like the data.
I think it's all like
I just think
irrelevant
I
data. It's all irrelevant data.
It comes to being prepared when you play these big teams in these big moments because that's the only true test you could possibly have at sniffing a Super Bowl is on these primetime games against legitimate coaches and players and quarterbacks specifically. Are you prepared? And can we see that progress? And you have a lot of these tests on the way up there. So if you're starting off with this low momentum, you're playing catch up when you're playing these big teams. So that's where I think it matters to, again, you don't need the 1 seed to your point, Booner, but you do need, and not saying that you don't think this, but you have to be prepared because if you don't have answers for Lamar Jackson, Washington's going to see that. They're like, okay, this is how we can exploit the Lions against mobile quarterbacks. Philadelphia is going to say the same thing and so on and so forth. So you have to have some type of game plan ready for these big moments when the pressures are high for a lot of these new pieces.
Huh?
Okay. I want to get Caleb on here so he can come on and share his thoughts. We have almost 400 people in this thing. No, Klotz, unless you want it. I'll say you've been out.
Wait,
I feel like
you guys let me do it because I'll go
that's
try
fine.
and figure out these. I'm gonna go figure out this interview.
I'll let Klotz keep cooking. He's been doing great. If you're in the stream, we have 400 people in here. Like the stream. Hit the like button. All right. I think we have like there's no reason we should. I don't know what the like count is right now, but we should have like 200 likes in here. So hit the like button if you're watching. Hit the subscribe button. What do you think you're doing? This guy's sitting next
close,
to me.
getting intimate.
Whoa. Oh, what up, Caleb?
Big C.
What's going on, fellas? All right, that was a tough one.
It was.
That was a tough
one.
one.
Hurt.
Caleb, what's your social media reaction? Are the Lions cooked, or what do you think?
Okay, look, obviously
the
the big,
Lions cook.
obviously the big storyline is the offense, and I'll say this: the play calling was abysmal. The play calling was abysmal. The offensive line play was not great. But as I've had time to kind of sit over there and think about it a little bit more, cool myself down, this was the first time this offensive line has played a game together. So, I mean, once this offensive line plays more and more, they gain more chemistry, that opens up a lot of your play calling. That you'll be able to establish the run, and you could run that play action that they love to do. But yeah, we just got outplayed. And every metric of the sport of football by the Green Bay Packers.
I would argue that Jake Bates looked better than Brandon McManus today.
You could say
I'll
yes.
throw you that metric.
Absolutely.
Dave Phipp was prepared. His unit was prepared.
Dave Phipp was prepared. You could always count on Dave Phipp.
Was
to
a
be
bright
fair,
spot.
RB in the chat says, is Jim Bob Cooter available?
Oh, wow. I will say this game
JBM.
screamed like a failed fourth down fake punt also by Dan Campbell. Like that. I'm surprised that didn't happen.
That there was no
there was no there was nothing like that happened.
I'm surprised he didn't kind of try and do some stuff like that late in the game. When it was looking grim.
You know why? You know why this didn't come? Because it was coming from the booth, not the sideline.
Okay.
Get on the field, Johnny
Here we
Morton.
go.
Yeah, but I will say this also with the offensive line. I mean, as we should, because I think he's going to end up being a very good offensive guard, or if he ends up moving to center. We are very reliant on Tate Ratledge in that offensive line. He needs to play better.
Yeah,
he
he
didn't look good.
He
man.
looked lost, but again, that goes to the whole thing of that's.
I'm at least willing to give him grace because he's a rookie, but like, you got no excuse for like Graham and like maybe even
every one of there was plays where Panay got beat.
Yeah,
there was
Taylor.
Multiple plays with Taylor, multiple plays with Mahat. Like every one of those linemen got exposed at some point.
Yeah, there was all of them,
and it's not like the offensive line coach is still there. Scotty Montgomery is still there. Everyone is intact as far as with that offensive line group coaching wise.
And I'll say this too, because I haven't seen, and I'm curious. I didn't hear you guys talk about it. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I'm curious to hear how people say what they say about Jared Goff's performance, because I think Jeff said it during the game. I almost felt bad for him.
I felt really bad for him.
I got mad because I keep forgetting that Jared Goff can't run. It's like, okay,
if people are blaming Goff, you
can't.
blame Goff, man. Like you just can't.
We knew, like, if we know what Jared Goff is, we know he's not a guy that's gonna improvise or make things happen when a play falls apart. He needs that offensive line, and he needs that play calling, and he didn't have either of it today. So, I mean, and although I saw I should have pinned it. Somebody said it a long time ago. Are we not going to blame Goff for all those checkdowns? He had to check down because it was probably the only thing open, and he had three guys in his face.
He had a couple of misreads. Yeah, there was one where even on that interception, there was someone on the sideline wide open, probably for a touchdown. But Jared Goff was not in a spot where he could get rhythm. When you looked at Jared Goff last year, you were like, holy hell. You knew he was not Patrick Mahomes. You knew he was not Lamar Jackson, those type of guys. But the whole argument was about Jared Goff last year. The level he is operating at, the rhythm that he was in. He went 18 for 18 on Monday night against a Mike McDonald defense, which is very good, and even since that moment is good. And you look at it, he was a shell of himself. You look at statistically, his completion percentage wasn't that bad because he was checking it down to Jahmyr Gibbs 10 times. But when you looked at him trying to get the ball down the field, over the middle of the field, I don't remember a true perimeter deep shot at all throughout that game. Jared Goff never once was able to find his rhythm. And it comes to a shortcoming where it's like, a lot of quarterbacks, you look at Jalen Hurts last Thursday night, he found his rhythm on the ground to make a difference in the game. Jared Goff, John Morton, you knew he doesn't have that ability. So when you are just refusing to commit to run the ball and take that pressure off of him, and he's dropping back 35 plus times, that is a recipe for disaster. This would be a game where we looked at Ben Johnson last year and be like, Ben Johnson, this was a fail. But this is 10 times worse than one of those Ben Johnson offenses would have put out a bad performance. Like, this was a 2020 offense with Tyrell Williams out there, wide receiver 1. That's what it looked like. Gotcha.
All right, we got a video of
Booner,
Dan Campbell. Let's take a listen.
TD.
The more those 5 play together, we got 2 young guards, but the more they all play together, the better we're going to get. These are real reps against other opponents, and you get a full game. And man, you go and you teach off of it, and you correct it, and you learn from it, and you move on.
Hard. Boone, summary. Can you? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean the offensive line, it's got to play better, and you're not going up against, I think, a similar defensive line next year next week, I should say, in Chicago. They got Montez Sweat over there, but you're not going up against a great front when you look at Green Bay Packers with Devontae Wyatt's very good, Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons. You're not going up a similar line, so you have an opportunity, quote unquote, for a get right week. But that offensive line, just again, every one of those players looked lost, and they just did not look prepared.
It's a prepared thing. I mentioned it during the watch party. Like, week 1 is tough because you have as much time as you do to prepare, and you look that bad. That's always brutal. Like, that's just you can't really make any excuses for that. You have once the schedule gets released, you know who you're playing. Mm-hmm. And I know you don't know really what to expect, but the Packers had the same defensive coordinator last year. Like, you kind of know what you're getting out of Jeff Iafrate, and you look that bad. So I understand the offensive line didn't play well, but that's still, I think there's a lot of people you could probably blame. I would start on offense. You start, John Morton didn't have a great game. Offensive line, of course, and that's kind of the big 2 on offense. And then defensively, you go pass rush, secondary, missing assignments. I mean, there's just, and they got dominated at the line of scrimmage. So it's just like.
Just to put into context for people that want to talk about Goff and his performance, to relate it to coaching. So Dan Campbell, he was, or it was Anthony Lynn was a play caller for their first game against the 49ers, corrected this tenure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff in that game, just to make sure I'm getting this all correct for you guys. Against the 49ers, threw for 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Was probably trailing the whole game, just like they were this week. Ben Johnson against Philadelphia was 21 for 37, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Then this game, well, you can keep going through, but it's pretty much the Chiefs with Ben Johnson, 253, the Rams, 217. He was 31 for 39 this week for 225, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So statistically, and even like, again, that's why you can't point to statistics. Like statistically, Jared Goff was Jared Goff in week 1 as far as like what he's done for you. I don't think you can look at Jared Goff and just be like, well, he shrunk in the moment. Like, no, Jared Goff played how he pretty much does every week, except for that San Francisco 49er game with Anthony Lynn.
They were just terrible. They couldn't even get to the red zone. I mean, they couldn't move the ball down the field. And when they did, they couldn't convert in the red zone. They just,
Are we listening to it on here or there?
Yeah, we got to keep talking, man. I'll say this about the offense. All right, red zone. That's one thing where you can say for Ben Johnson, like they had moments last year against the Bucs that the Bucs they didn't score a touchdown, but overall with Dan and Ben together, they've been a really good red zone team. Like they've always found ways, like creative ways to score touchdowns.
Yeah, it was just
like it's almost automatic.
It was just
I think they'll have. That's why John, we've seen a week. This is something, it only could get better from here.
You know what
but that has been something the Lions have been good at.
You know what I think had to have happened? I think that Saturday, Lions were preparing for the game, and John Morton snuck out. And he was on that Michigan sideline on Saturday night, and he really liked that game plan. And he really liked how they refused to find an identity and get their skill players in a place to succeed. And he saw that game plan from Sherrone Moore and says, that's what I want. That's what I want with my football team. I want them getting dominated at the line of scrimmage. Besides one play, Jahmyr Gibbs, Justice Haynes, both had big runs. Jahmyr was in the first quarter. After that, we are just going to refuse. What up, Boone?
He's comparing the Michigan offense to the Lions offense.
Yeah, it's scary similar. The offenses brewing out of the state of Michigan this week were very identical, except for the Spartans.
At least one of them
Childs look good. We need Aiden Childs out there this week.
Yeah, we'll move forward fine. We will. We've got good players, we've got good coaches. We'll be fine. It's just there needs to be a urgency of improvement. You know, it has to be. And today wasn't even close to good enough, I think, offensively. And we got a lot of work to do. Yeah, we'll move forward fine. We will. We've got good players, we've got good coaches.
All right. We live. All right. So saying that sense of urgency for the Lions.
Yeah, which we kind of knew. Yeah, I mean, we figured what Dan and Jared would say. They're going to be
a lot of coaches talk.
It's
a lot of coaches talk.
Jared is this isn't like a disrespectful thing. He's the biggest like NPC when it comes to press conferences. Like I
like a Packer fan.
Like when I see Jared Goff has spoken to the media, I just don't watch it.
He never says the wrong thing. He never says the wrong thing.
That's how it should be, by the way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying as like a like.
Why'd you just get panicked?
Like because you know Jared Goff. No, because I actually like my quarterback doing that. I'm just saying from like I like a little bit of tea sometimes, a little bit of drama.
That's why you like Caleb Williams.
No, that's not why. But you know when you see like Aiden Hutchins kind of like that, you're like, I know what this guy's gonna say. It's gonna be a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Like Kirby, you're like, oh, I gotta see what this guy's saying. Yeah. You know, like trying to think of Amon Ra, these guys. I like it. Jared Goff. He's gonna be like, we're fine.
Yeah, it's like you better have some fucking urgency. You're going up against.
We need urgency.
Chicago, genuinely, Jared Goff doesn't play against Chicago, and then we've said it already. You got Baltimore week 3, and the urgency better be there.
It's got to get turned around quick.
Yeah, and even like he doesn't have to throw. Like he probably can throw less yards than he did today. I don't give a damn as long as Jared Goff actually finds his footing and finds his rhythm in a game. That is all that matters. If this offense rolls through the first half of the season, struggling to find their identity at that level,
yeah, then you're in a different. Like at this, you just
you're looking around at the sideline, figuring out who the next play caller is.
Well, they got two pretty good. Like Jeff Hafley's a very good defensive coordinator. People might not know too much about him. He came from Boston College. He's a very, very good DC.
Golden Eagles.
They got Dennis Allen next week for another very good DC. So it's good for Johnny Morton too. Like just for him, like you're going against 2 really good DCs off the rip, divisional opponents.
Yeah, well, is it good for the Lions because we need to win some fucking football games?
I'm going to be honest. If this guy's the OC, then yeah, you want him in this situation.
But I'm almost at a point. He's going. If you look,
like you want to win a Super Bowl. All right, you got to go against Vic Fangio, the Eagles. You got to go against Spags. If the Chiefs even get there, they look terrible too.
Yeah.
But you get my point. Like Sean McDermott for the Bills, like this is a good like litmus test.
I want to
John
because
Morton.
I'm thinking about it right now.
Like, what are we doing?
I don't think we've ever really brought this up. Let me look it up. Johnny Morton might have one of the most brutal stretches for a first-year offensive coordinator as far as going up against a DC. So you got Dennis Allen next week, then DC/head coach if you have a defensive-minded head coach. You got Dennis Allen, John Harbaugh, Jim Schwartz, Bengals. Okay, give you credit there.
Yeah.
Steve Spagnuolo, Todd Bowles, blanking on Vikings.
Brian Flores, Dan Quinn, Vic
Fangio. The Giants defensive coordinator, whatever. That front seven's dangerous. Got Jeff Hafley again. Eberflus, Shula with the Rams. He's an up-and-comer. Steelers, you got Mike Tomlin. You got Flores again. Then you got Dennis Allen again. There is maybe 1 week where you could be like, I think Johnny Morton might win this offensive coordinator battle between the OC and DC. And that might be the Bengals.
That's a lot of tough
That
DCs,
might be the Bengals. So that's why maybe the Giants, they can look to impress.
It's a good like litmus test for him. Not that you want.
Question.
Trial.
Booner has a question.
I want someone to repeat the question.
Okay. Booner has a question. We will repeat it.
It's bad because I think we all agree the offensive line is terrible.
He said,
Yes.
we all think the offensive line is terrible today, correct? He's saying number one issue is probably the offensive line of the question. We all agree. Yeah. He then asked, how many points would this offense have?
Well,
with Ben
I just
Johnson?
also think there was no. I just think there was no creativity with the
Yeah.
offense too. And again, yeah, it all starts with the offensive line. You can't really do anything if they're getting pressure every play. But there was also just no creativity. There was no flow in the game, and I think Ben Johnson would have maybe found a way to get the ball in his playmakers' hands a little bit better than just checking it down to Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, it's
sometimes.
tough. I think the offensive line would have affected both coordinators, but I agree with you, Caleb. Like they would have scored more than what
They would have
had.
had more than 40 fucking rushing yards. I can tell you that much. Like there would have been an emphasis on that first drive. Hey, we should probably put David Montgomery out there, set the tone of the game, and we should at least get 10 rushing yards on this first drive. It was check down, run to the edge where you're just asking, like everybody knew that if you run behind Taylor Decker, you're not going to have success compared to running behind Pace. So what do? Run behind Taylor Decker, right in the hands of Luke Van Ness, Rashawn Gary, all those boys, and then another incomplete pass. There was no rhythm in those first two drives when it should just be, when you looked in the past, it was the Lions setting the tone with David Montgomery, and they decided they didn't need to do that. So just even the little things of getting this offense in rhythm how it was before, they switched it up.
I didn't see too, and I could be wrong, but the thing we saw in training camp a lot was Jahmyr in the slot. I think a lot of his catches were just out the backfield.
Yeah,
they were
meaning as far
like
as
dump offs.
he was the fourth read on all the. There was the one where they did the play action and Jahmyr leaked off on the side, and that was designed because you could see Laporta kind of screening the safety off. But besides that, it was like, okay, Amon-Ra's not open, J-Mo's not open, Laporta's covered, Jahmyr. That's what all of them were, and there was already 2 or 3 guys there because they just kept dropping 8 guys. They're like, if we just cover them, they're fine because our if we're sending 3 or 4, we're creating pressure. So let's just drop everybody into coverage, and it was just okay. Let him check down to Jahmyr every time. That's what they kept doing. They would just keep giving what the Packers defense was allowing them to do. There was no effort to like, let's open this play up. We have the fastest wide receiver who we just extended 12 hours ago. What does he do best? Go down the field and catch a deep ball. Not one deep shot to J-Mo. Not one. Something that Amon-Ra is great at. I can't stand wide receiver screens. But I think there's probably 4 or 5 guys around the NFL that I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Jamar Chase, when you look at CeeDee Lamb, sometimes A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua. Amon-Ra is one of those guys that are like, you know what? If he catches a screen pass, he can probably at least get you 4 or 5 yards. Not one. They did it to Khalif Raymond, I think. Yeah. But there was no emphasis on we need to strike fear in this Packers defense. It was reacting. And in the last 2 years, it's been the offensive line for this team and the playmakers as well, setting the tone. The offensive line has struggled in the past before. When they lost to Green Bay on Thanksgiving, struggled. When they beat Houston last year, it struggled. But it has never looked like this from an offense as a fluidity standpoint.
Let me just change this real quick. All right.
Booner flew by. Booner sighting.
Yeah, but Klotz, I agree. I mean, it's just it's like spin the wheel. Whoever it lands on, you could give them the football. And these guys are just so talented. They're on paper. This Detroit Lions offense is so talented. You got to find a way, even if the offensive line is not playing well, just have some creativity to get the ball to these guys in space. And like I said, it's not going to work just off check downs 4 yards past the line of scrimmage with Jahmyr Gibbs. There's no creativity to that, and you're never going to find any rhythm in an offense if that's your go-to play, because that's what it felt like today.
Yeah, their go-to was Jahmyr and check down.
Yeah. I mean, it was tough. And
They're down by like 20, like 2 minutes left in the game, and they're running Jameer off the edge. And that was when I started actually getting mad. I'm like, you're just giving up. Like, that would have never happened.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things you look at for like the NFC North. It's a tough start for sure. You're 0-1 in the NFC North already. And then you have an NFC North opponent next week. So they have to take care of business, which I want to see how the Bears look tomorrow against the Vikings. That game now we're going to have our eyes on.
I really, really hope the Bears offense does not go out there and look good.
That would be.
I would hate even more if the Bears won. If the Bears won, Lions lost, and the Packers going to be talked about like they're Super Bowl contenders now. And based off the way that they played, I mean, you can't blame them. Like, the narrative about the Packers is going to be insane throughout media. The narrative about the Lions is going to be insane throughout the media. Everybody's saying they're falling off. So now if you just add into that, hey, Chicago, Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, they look like they got this thing figured out, and they're playing next week. The noise outside of Allen Park is going to be ridiculous.
It is. It is, and that's why I think it's fair for people to be concerned right now. You know, it's fair for people to be concerned right now. Not that it's everything, but just to have your concerns is 100% fair. That performance wasn't even like they lost by 3 in a battle.
You're out of your cranium if you're not like, oh.
Yeah, that
if you think that, it's fine, it'll be all right.
Yeah, it doesn't mean the season's a wash, but that's one of those things where it's like you have to at least be like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
You like this?
A Super Bowl contender that looks that bad.
I love me some Carrie Underwood, Boone. Yeah, I mean,
it's a hit.
I love me some Sunday night.
You know,
I hope they heard that.
I think for fans, you know what you guys should be doing right now? Enjoy Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. Watch real.
Enjoy Sunday Night Football. You know, go to bed, sleep it off, and then tomorrow morning you can come join me at 9 a.m. All right, and then we can talk, and then you can come hang out with us at 7, and then we'll have our watch party at 8 p.m. for the Bears Vikings. People can call me a Bears fan all you want tomorrow. That's fine. All right, we're back to
4 more minutes, boys.
We're back to normal. So you can call me that. It's fine. I think tomorrow it's going to be a good game. I think tomorrow it's going to be a really good game. And we're going to see tomorrow J.J. McCarthy's debut.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Old J.J. McCarthy.
I mean, I've said it a couple times, and I kind of like the Vikings this year. I do like the Vikings this year.
I like the Vikings this year.
I have them at 8 wins.
I think it's going to be interesting.
I think they can win 10.
It's going to be two like of the best defensive coordinators in the game against two rookie. Like, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be the better defensive team.
Like
so,
a 17-13
if there's
or
a
something.
quarterback that walks out of there look like they're playing good, like, hats off to him.
Question from the
Booner has a question.
I want to ask all three of you. I want you guys to answer it. Greg said Lions are done for this year. Next year's our year. Are you guys? What is your guys' mess or your? What is your guys' what is your guys' like?
We got to keep these shorter. We got to keep these shorter, man.
Statements to Lions fans that think that the season might be done.
All right, so Booner basically he's asking, what is your statement to Lions fans that are saying that the season's over? It's not over. I'm not going to go that far, guys. We have to. It's not over. You know, me and Boone, we disagree on kind of I think if you start 0-2, you're in a tough spot. That's just what I think.
You are.
And you can disagree with that. I think that's a tough spot to be in. I've seen it with Bengals. That's literally why they play stars in the preseason, because it's tough. It's a tough spot to be in when you start 0-2. So I would say if they lose next week, then we're probably having an even tougher conversation, because you're going into that Ravens game like this could be it. You're 0-3. Yeah, could they want to run like they did at 1-6? Of course, but I'm not talking about they could.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the likelihood. It's like he's just not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, because guys, we have to think about it. It's more than just like, oh well, they were 1-6 and they went on a run. This schedule this year, you just get boom, boom, boom.
Like coaching.
You just have a tough stretch if you're going to come back from 0-3.
We're moving on. Booner said down the line, so it's now my turn. He's directing back there.
So I would say, no, don't panic right now, but panic if they lose next week, for sure.
I mean, I
panic a little bit now.
I would say I'm panicked a little bit now.
Which is fair,
and
fair.
I'm not going to be – I just genuinely – I've told you and Booner this and even Caleb at the beginning of the year in the offseason. Like, I don't think the Lions win a Super Bowl this year. I just don't think it aligns. I think if you win a Super Bowl, pretty much everything needs to align damn near perfect. And if it doesn't, you got to have one of those elite quarterbacks that can overcome that. So the Lions being in that situation that they are, I don't think it aligns for them perfectly. You start off with a slow start, then it's just I just will double down on like I don't think this team. I think this team can be good, but I thought this team could make like a NFC Championship type of run, and then they're just not going to get there. It could be worse than that, but I just will double.
It's not
down.
like you
That's just
gain
not-
confidence today.
Yeah, I just think that this is something where it's a coaching overhaul. They're going to need a year. You go into draft next year, you get more talent. You just think that you need, and you're ready to go again. But the year right now could be.
Although that was the most piss poor performance I've ever seen in my life that we just watched, I'm going to take a more positive route at it. I just think this team is way too talented for us not to succeed. And I think Boone said it earlier, like Dan Campbell's not going to let this ship fall. If Johnny Morton shits the bed every single week, Dan Campbell's going to say, give me that fucking headset. I am calling the plays, just like he did with Anthony Lynn right when he got here in 2020 or whatever year that was. So, I mean, like I said, there's just too much talent on both sides of the ball. I think Kelvin Shepard, as the year goes on, he's going to get smarter and more comfortable calling the defense. And no, I think the Lions can win a Super Bowl this year, even though that was one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life. I just think, I mean, this roster, it's just too good. And I don't think Dan Campbell's going to let this ship fall.
I love it. Caleb's optimistic. And you know what?
Caleb.
It's okay. We'll talk about it more tomorrow.
I
all
hate
right?
that shit.
You can come join us. Join me in the morning at 9 a.m. I'll be live, and then we'll be live later in the day. So see you guys then. Appreciate you all. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. You better hit the like button. We should have like 200 likes on this stream.
Come on.
All right. Jeff Iafrate, Lukas Klotz, Caleb Czarnik, Booner, Michael Gentry, Crunch Time Sports. We love you guys. We'll catch you tomorrow.